Hello, I am Sean Wiesemann here from RedHawk Radio. We have about 24 minutes from tip in an exciting game between the Eastern Michigan Eagles and the Miami RedHawks. We have a great pregame show for you here, and I will be here for the halftime and postgame show for this game as well as the men's game. We'll get started, though, with some pregame stuff here. First, let's go over the men's game. We'll go over that because we'll get in the women's game just a little bit. First, though, we got the men's game at 3:30 between Central Michigan and Miami. We can go over Central Michigan first. Central Michigan overall is a 16-10 record with a 10-3 record in the MAC. Very solid team. In fact, this past calendar year, they've only lost 3 games, and after a January 16th loss to Ohio on the road, only lost 1 game, a 21-point loss to conference co-leader Akron on the road. However, they're one of the luckiest teams in all of college basketball. And that's in the stretch in the past 8 games or so. They have won 2 double overtime games, an overtime game, and 2 other one-score games. Incredibly lucky. And in fact, according to KenPom.com, our friends over there, they are the second luckiest team in all of college basketball. So, they are overall 8-0 in close games, according to BartTorvik.com. All right, so their record is a little deceiving, as not only are they a lucky team, but they also have it kind of counterbalanced by a pretty solid non-conference schedule. They scheduled 4 power conference opponents. They actually have a very big road win over American Athletic Conference champion South Florida, regular season champ South Florida. Great win for them on November 15th. Overall, though, we can get into the KenPom rankings for them. Not a great offensive team. Their bread and butter is their defense. They're 332nd in offensive efficiency. That is second worst in the MAC, 11th in the MAC, and Buffalo is the only team that has a worse offensive efficiency. Overall, in defensive efficiency, they are 101st, and that is second in the MAC, and Akron is the only team that is better than them in defensive efficiency. And then this is a very slow team. They are bottom 100th in the bottom 90 rather in the top in the tempo department. They're quite slow. Miami's about middle of the pack at 209th. Central Michigan 287th. So very, very slow. Okay. Now, we'll get into the defense even more in just a little bit, but I just want to give you a few stats here to really illustrate just how stout the Central Michigan defense is. So to start, they are the best team in the MAC in 38th in the entire country in field goal percentage allowed. They are a very, very strong defensive team. In the past 10 games, though, they have shown to be one of the best defensive teams in the country and one of the worst offensive teams in the country. So quite a dichotomy there. They have, in fact, in the last 10 games in which they are 8-2, they have the 4th best defensive efficiency in the entire country, the 2nd best 2-point shooting defense in the entire country, and overall the best field goal percentage allowed in the entire country. This is a team that is defending the basketball better than quite literally just about anybody in the entire country. On the flip side, though, they are dreadful offensively these last few games. They are 349th in the country in offensive efficiency the past 10 games, which is bottom 10 in the entire country, along with shooting just 25% from 3 over their past 10 games, which is 4th worst in the entire country. Overall, they are led by, they have a pretty balanced offensive attack. 4 players averaging more than 10 points per game, none more than 13. Their leading scorer is Anthony Pritchard, a Tulsa transfer. The guard is their second leading rebounder, plus their leading assister and leading scorer, averaging 13.4 points per game, 4.4 assists per game, and 5.1 rebounds per game. He's somebody you'll need to keep an eye on today, as he has led the team in scoring 12 of their 26 games. And in fact, in their great win against South Florida in November, he had a season-high 22. Additionally, they are led by guard Brian Taylor, who is their second leading scorer, averaging 11.4 points per game, and is their leading rebounder with 7.7 points rebounds per game, which is tied for 4th in the entire MAC for a guard. That's very, very impressive, and is actually their leading blocker on the team, averaging just over a block per game. Something also to keep a note of is their third leading scorer is 6'10" Marcus Harding, who has only played 12 minutes. He only played 12 minutes in the game against Bowling Green, which was an overtime victory, in which the overtime score was 6-4 in favor of the Chippewas. He's missed 8 games, including 3 over the past couple weeks, and he's an important part of their offense, as he's averaging just under 11 points a game and 4.7 rebounds per game. Interesting to note, though, we've seen a lot of different people scoring for the Chippewas. In fact, over the past 5 games, 5 different people have led them, the Chippewas in scoring. So something to keep an eye on, and just a really interesting stat. So for our RedHawks, we have a 12-14 team that's actually improved, I feel like, and then kind of regressed. Really, really streaky team, and they have maybe their worst game of the season. By offensive efficiency on their game against Western Michigan on Tuesday, a game in which they lost 77-58 to a 9-17 Western Michigan team. Not good at all. Yes, and worst game by offensive efficiency this season, scoring 58 points against a really dreadful defensive team, and it was their 8th worst game defensively this entire year by offensive efficiency. They shot 34% from the field, 26% from 3, and had 15 turnovers. Just an absolutely brutal offensive performance. And yeah, that was probably their worst loss of the season. However, there is hope because, like I said, they are streaky, and they had their 3rd best game offensively this past Saturday against Ball State, and their 6th best game defensively. I mean, it was a really close game in the first half, and they were only up 1, 30-29, but outscored the Cardinals 50-30 in the second half, shot 48% from 3, and only turned the ball over 9 times. Really, really important stuff. And that's the kind of offensive performance they're going to need to beat a really good Central Michigan team today. Overall, though, this Miami team has a couple of really big wins. I mean, they beat a Vermont team that is best in their conference in the America East and has over 20 wins already. And an Akron team that is a co-conference leader, like I mentioned earlier in the show. Really, really solid. 2 really solid wins for the RedHawks, and shows that they can compete with anybody on any given day. It's just a matter of which RedHawk team shows up. Is it the one that shoots 48% from 3, only turns the ball over fewer than 10 times, or is it the team that shoots 34% from the field and has 15 turnovers? We will see, and I'm excited to see, and hopefully the RedHawks will have the former, not the latter. Anyways, we have a team that is led by Northern Illinois transfer Darwashi Hunter and Anderson Mirambo, a Cleveland State transfer. Darwashi Hunter is second on the team in scoring at 12.4 points per game and averaging just under 5 rebounds per game, and shoots 36% from 3. I'd imagine he has to have a big game in order for the RedHawks to really pull out this victory here. The other part of the equation here is Anderson Mirambo, who was Miami's only preseason all-conference player, but missed the first month and a half or so of the season, but is coming back and has played pretty well, although his minutes have been a little bit more limited compared to last year, just because there's a little bit more depth with the amount of transfers that head coach Travis Steele brought in. Mirambo is 6'8", 305, and is definitely a mismatch for a lot of teams who, quite frankly, can't compete with that kind of size. Overall, though, he leads the team in scoring with 13.1 points per game. However, he has regressed quite a bit in the rebounding department. And it has really affected the team. He averaged 5.7 rebounds per game this last season, and he's only down to about 3.5 rebounds per game. That's really shown that regression on the boards has shown quite a bit. Overall, though, injuries and absences have kind of just wrecked the rotational consistency of this. The consistency of this rotation, with only 3 different players playing all 26 games. I mean, they've had multiple contributors who have missed time. Mirambo, like I said, missed a month and a half to start the season. Evan Ipsaro, who started games, has missed time. Ryan Mabry was a starter. He's missed time. Multiple other rotation pieces have missed time. But when fully healthy, they have a very solid 10-man rotation with some decent size that definitely is something to be excited about, because a lot of that size is fairly young. Overall, though, the KenPom stats show that this is a team that is 8th in the MAC in offensive efficiency, 262nd overall, and 5th in the MAC in defensive efficiency. Something that I think Travis Steele has done a very good job of is getting a very good defensive team out of this RedHawks squad. They are 5th in the MAC, like I mentioned, 233rd overall in defensive efficiency. And this is a team that relies on the three quite a bit and is able to defend the three very well. They're 59th in the country in three-point percentage, shooting over 36% from three, and they defend the three-point very well, allowing teams to shoot only 32%, which is 80th in the country. However, like I mentioned earlier with Anderson Mirambo, rebounding is a real big problem for this team. They are bottom 15 in the entire country in offensive rebounding rate and below average defensive rebounding rate. And for whatever reason, too, because of the lack of rebounding, it's also affecting their ability to block shots. They're 300th in the country in block rate, which is just dreadful stuff and shows that they definitely, in the future, in the coming seasons, are going to need to improve in the post if they want to win more than 12 games this season, in a season. Overall, the matchup, though, I mean, so these teams seemingly evenly matched on paper. However, they played just over a month ago, January 23rd, and Miami lost at Central Michigan, 71-55. Only two players from Central Michigan shoot over 28% from three. Something I mentioned just a second ago, Miami defends the three very well. So that's going to be something that's going to, they're really going to try to funnel everything in, funnel everything outside and really keep them from scoring inside. Central Michigan, on the flip side, is a very, very strong, elite, I would argue, post defense team, and they actually have had the second best two-point defense in the entire country over the past 10 games, and as a result, that means that Miami is going to have to hit some threes, and that likely means that you're going to need a big game from players like Darwishi Hunter, guard Ian Elmer, and the other guards to really make up for Mirambo. Likely going to be taken mostly out of the equation on this game if I had to guess. However, I would look for a pretty low-scoring game, as Central Michigan has had for most of their games over the past couple months or so. And my prediction, actually, maybe I got a little bit of homer bias, is the RedHawks 65 and the Chippewas 62. Thank you for that, and we will be getting into the women's game in just a second, as we have the Eastern Michigan Eagles playing against the Miami RedHawks. Eastern Michigan is 6-18. 2-11 in the MAC, which is the worst in the MAC, and have lost 8 of their last 9 contests. They are led by interim head coach Keisha Blanton, who has had her work cut out for her with a team that didn't have a ton of talent built in, and after their head coach was fired about 10 games into the season. The Eagles haven't been playing their best basketball recently. As I mentioned, they've lost 8 of their last 9, and they lost their last 2. Their last win was in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge versus South Alabama, a game in which they won 81-69. Digging into the metrics, though, it's obvious this is not a very talented offensive squad. They average just under 59 points a game, which is second worst in the MAC. They are the worst three-point shooting team in the MAC. They are very reliant on their post scorers, which I'll get into in just a minute. They shoot just 26.5% from three. Really dreadful stuff. They're also just the worst shooting team overall in the conference, shooting just 37.5%. However, they have a really strong post defense, which is something that you'll need to keep in mind as we see Amber Treader and the Scott twins, Jada and Jaden, who will likely have their hands full with the outstanding perimeter post defense, of the Eagles. However, they are the worst three-point shooting defense in the league, which means it's going to need to be a big day for players like Nuria Herho, Maddie Hoon, and other guards who are definitely, and Hennessy Lou Brown and Corey Lard also are contributors who are definitely going to need to step up for them. Overall, though, for the players, digging into the players for the Eagles here, led by 6'3" center Tarya Ike, who is a transfer from Long Island University, who's averaging about 10 points per game, and that leads the team, 7 rebounds per game, which is second on the team and leads the team and the MAC in blocks per game with 2 a game. Something you're going to have to keep an eye on is the post defense for the Eagles. Also, for the Eagles is a fifth-year Walnut Hills grad transfer, 6'2" forward Kennedy Miles, from local Walnut Hills here down in Cincinnati. Ranks 5th in the MAC with her 9 rebounds per game, which leads the team, and is 3rd on the team in points per game with 8.3. She provides some serious high major experience, however, having been a 2-year starter at Illinois before transferring to Marquette for a couple years and getting some starts there before ultimately transferring to Eastern Michigan. In terms of the guards for Eastern Michigan, not a lot of shooting on the outside for them. They're led by 5'7" guard Lachelle Edwards, who is their second leading scorer at 9.3 points per game, but is only shooting 31% from the field. Something you'll definitely want to keep an eye on, as you definitely are going to look for the Eagles to probably have to take a lot of perimeter shots if the focus for the RedHawks is on containing the interior duo of Kennedy Miles and Tarya Ike. As for the RedHawks, we have the Miami RedHawks are 7-17, 4-9 in the MAC, and tied for 9th in the MAC conference standings. Something that is very important as the top 8 make it into the MAC tournament, and I will mention that at the end of our show in the pregame. Overall, though, Miami has won 2 of their past 4 games, but they are coming off by far their worst offensive performance of the season against Toledo. That Toledo game snapped a 2-game win streak on Wednesday, and they lost 68-36 on the road. Dreadful, dreadful offensive performance, especially as you get guessed by their 36 points. Corey Lard was the only person in double digits, and actually it was her 6th straight game in double digits. The team shot 25% from the field, 17% from 3, and turned the ball over 23 times. Jaden Scott, their leading scorer, shot just 3 of 14 with only 8 points. Amber Treader only getting 6 shots off and making one of them 1 for 6, meaning she only had 3 points, and just a dreadful second and third quarter, scoring only 4 points in the second quarter and 7 points in the third. Definitely going to need a much better offensive performance to give yourself a chance at winning today. So let's see if we can get that from the RedHawks here. Overall, though, the RedHawks are the worst offense in the MAC at 53.4 points per game, and they actually attempt the fewest threes per game, although they're definitely not a bad shooting team. From the 3, their style has definitely been defeated to the Scott twins and Amber Treader, who are all in their front court there. It's going to be difficult to get shots off in the paint, though, as I mentioned, with 4 blocks per game. That's definitely going to be a key. Is 3-point shooting for the RedHawks here. Overall, though, their defense, the Glenn Box defense, has become kind of a signature for this RedHawks squad this season, as they've had some really solid defensive performances, including giving up 49 points to a Buffalo team that had the 3rd leading scorer in the entire NCAA. And they're 4th in shots allowed per game as well, which is a big, big sign, and they're going to need to continue to keep the shots from falling if they want to beat the Eagles today. In terms of the player leaders, we have Jaden Scott, who is leading the Miami RedHawks in scoring, averaging 10.8 points per game, and is their 3rd leading rebounder. The RedHawks' leading rebounder is Amber Treader, who is definitely one of the best players not just in the conference, but definitely one of the better players in the country, and has really performed well for the RedHawks as a freshman. She's averaging 7.5 points per game, which is 5th in the conference in rebounding, in addition to scoring just under 10 points per game, and has been a double-double machine. She has had 6 double-doubles in the past 7 games and is actually also 4th in the MAC in a block per game. Her averages in the last 7 games have been dynamic. She is averaging 14 points and 12 rebounds per game since January 27th. She needs to have a big performance for the RedHawks in order to win. Corey Lard is definitely the guard to keep an eye on today, as we're definitely going to need to see some shots fall for the RedHawks. Corey Lard is averaging 2.6 points per game to go with 6.3 points per game, and plays some of the best perimeter defense, as evidenced by her being 2nd in the MAC in steals at 2.1 steals per game. Very feisty defense, and something that she'll need to continue if we want to see a RedHawks victory. Injuries, something to keep an eye on today, is Katie Richardson, who has been out since January 20th with a boot in her leg. She was the 3rd leading scorer for the RedHawks, had multiple double-doubles. She was seen warming up and could be a big addition. We'll see when the actual lineups are announced, but that could be a huge, huge addition to get some much-needed interior size against a team that relies on their interior to get their offense and their defense rolling. Also missing is Lucretia Edwards, who is their 4th leading scorer. She has been out since January 14th. The freshman had 5 games with double-digit points, and the losses of Richardson and Edwards has really, really hurt them, because recently Miami had 26 bench points against Ball State, 27 versus the Eastern Michigan game when they last played, and 29 in a win against Western Michigan last month. But over the past 7 games, the bench has really been able to do nothing, registering just 30 combined points in the past 7 games. Really, really dreadful stuff, and something that's going to need to continue to improve if we want to see some more RedHawks victories. Because, though, of Lucretia Edwards being out, it's forced Tennessee Lou Brown the New Orleans transfer, and Nuria Hurho and Maddie Hoon, both freshmen, to pick up more minutes in her absence, because and also just with the lack of depth in the front court, with the Scott twins and Amber Treader being the only forwards receiving significant playing time, means that their offense will be on the guards with less experience. So we'll see. Overall, though, we have about 3.5 minutes to tip, and we'll get in the matchup, and then I'll kick it to our friends here at Red Hawk Radio. Overall, the RedHawks have an outstanding matchup. I think this is a very, very winnable game. Miami 294th in the net rankings, which is a predictive metric used by the NCAA Tournament Committee. The Eastern Michigan Eagles here are 320th in net. Something to keep in mind, actually, is that the Eagles are turning the ball over fewer points per game than their opponents this season. They're forcing just over 16 turnovers a game. And Miami is 4-11 in games in which they commit 16 turnovers, so that is something to keep an eye on for sure. The Eagles also score fewer points than they score fewer points than the RedHawks allow. They score 58.4 points per game. The RedHawks give up 64.6. Eastern Michigan, however, is 4-2 when they hit the 65-point mark, so something also to keep an eye on here. These teams met on January 17th, and when they played, the Eagles were able to squeak out a low-scoring victory, a 53-48 victory, a game in which rebounding was a really big key here, in which the Eagles were outscored the RedHawks, out-rebounded the RedHawks 45-32, and the RedHawks were only able to shoot 30% from the field. And in fact, that was the game the RedHawks probably should have won. They led 37-32 early in the fourth quarter before Eastern Michigan ultimately went on a 13-0 run in the final 4 minutes to walk away with that victory. Jada Scott and Hennessy Lou Brown were the leading scorers. Jada Scott with 11, Hennessy Lou Brown with 9. This is the 68th overall meeting between the two schools, with the Miami holding a 42-25 series record. However, the last win over the Eagles was February 6, 2019 in Oxford, so I would certainly hope that they can break that streak today. My key to the game, though, is going to be, for the love of all that is holy, for them to get to 60 points today. Miami is 3-2 this season when scoring at least 60 points, and 4-15 when it fails to reach that mark. The only times that they've been able to win games without that hitting that 60-point mark is against Xavier earlier this season, and against 56 when they scored 56 over Bowling Green. Overall, though, I'm going to say my prediction for the game is a 62-56 win over the RedHawks, in which I think they barely get over that 60-point mark. We will see. One last thing before I kick it over to my friends Luke and Addison here. This is a very important game, and these last few games are going to be very important for the RedHawks, and this is a very winnable game, as the RedHawks are currently the number 9 team in the conference, meaning that the Miami would be left out of the MAC tournament. However, they trail our rival Ohio by 1 game, as Ohio has a 5-8 record in the MAC for the number 8 seed, and the final game of the regular season will be a March 9th contest against Ohio. Something to keep an eye on down the stretch here in the last few games, as the RedHawks hope to make the MAC tournament and potentially get an NCAA postseason bid. I'll kick it over to our friends here in just a second here, my friends Luke and Addison, as we have an outstanding game coming. Kick it away.
Kicking off our RedHawk Radio doubleheader on this Saturday afternoon here in women's hoops. The Miami women looking to rebound from earlier this week in a loss on the road against Toledo. RedHawks are still alive for a MAC tournament bid as they play host to one of their former coaches in Keisha Blanton and the Eastern Michigan Eagles. With Addison, Lenhart, I'm Luke West Poley. We're so glad that you're with us for the front end of our RedHawk Radio doubleheader. We'll have the men taking on Central Michigan in a crucial one coming up later this afternoon. But Addison, for the Miami women, obviously a forgettable game on Wednesday in which they failed to cross the 40-point mark against Toledo. This is a RedHawk team that struggled on the road to score points, averaging just 50 a game outside of Oxford. However, Katie Richardson, who's been one of the better interior threats for this team, has been practicing coming off injury. She warmed up. RedHawks should have her this afternoon. In what capacity, we'll have to see. That's a huge addition for a Miami team that's still very much alive on the outside looking in, but needing some wins down the stretch to qualify for Cleveland.
Yeah, and probably playing their best basketball of the season prior to that Toledo game. Winners of 3 out of their last 4 before they dropped that one to the Rockets. And for this Miami team, as you said, a lot to play for still on the outside looking in of the MAC standings right now. And that 8 spot is so important. The MAC, unlike a lot of mid-major conferences, requires you to qualify for the conference tournament championship. Miami has a chance to do that. If they can get a win here today, that will go a long way towards that.
RedHawks sit 1 game outside of contention right now for Cleveland, behind the Ohio Bobcats, the arch rival of this Miami team, who they will wrap up the season with coming up in a couple of weeks. For Eastern Michigan, this is a new-look Eagles squad who fired their coach mid-season, a very rare move by a mid-major school. They are now led by interim coach Keisha Blanton. Helped build the program at Oakland prior to her time in Ypsilanti, and prior to that, she was on Megan Duffy's staff here at Miami. Duffy's actually in town. She's coaching just an hour down the road this afternoon for the Marquette Golden Eagles as they take on Xavier. But Blanton back at her former stomping grounds as the interim leader of an Eastern Michigan team that sits at 2-11 in the MAC. One of those wins came against this Miami team, and Eastern Michigan currently trying to snap a 2-game losing streak and just trying to get themselves out of the basement right now. And honestly, it's been an admirable job by Coach Blanton and what she's done in taking over the program mid-season. This is a team, though, that's shown that they can compete. They've been pretty competitive in a lot of MAC games, and Miami's got to be very, very careful. You'd hate, for Cleveland purposes, to get swept by a team like these Eastern Michigan Eagles and what you would call a prototypical trap game, I guess, here at home.
Yeah, and it's an Eastern Michigan team, as you said, that has played an extremely competitive slate of games this season. And Keisha Blanton, after taking over, won her first 3 games in a row as the head coach of this Eastern Michigan squad. And this is a team that has played competitively in kind of an ugly record, as you said, that 2-11 MAC record, 6-18 coming into this game. But if Miami is not awake for this game, Eastern Michigan is certainly a team that can give them a lot of issues, as we saw up in Ypsilanti, as Miami was not even able to hit the 50-point mark in that game.
RedHawks have struggled to score points at many times this season, and also they have not at times. It's been a very sporadic offensive attack for this Miami team. We're all set to go here from Millett Hall. It is Love, Honor, Care Day here in Oxford, and so it is pink uniforms for the Miami team. They've got RedHawks across the front with white numbers on the front and back, and the white accents in support of the Luna Cares Foundation, local cancer charity here in Oxford. Eastern Michigan in the road greens, Eagles, or Eastern rather, I should say, in text on the front with the white numbers on the front and back. Miami moves left to right, Eastern moves right to left, tip off in the air. It is won by EMU, and off we go from Oxford. Controlling from up top for Eastern Michigan down to the near side. This is Lachelle Austin, third in the MAC last season in minutes. She'll play it into the high post, and it's flipped around by Tayra A.K. Tried to toss it into the corner. She lost it. It's taken away for the RedHawks by Treader. Feeding ahead, this is Corey Lard down to the right elbow, and now she'll feed into the post for Scott. She steps back and pulls. That's off the interior of the rim, no good. And the rebound hauled down by the Eagles. 40 seconds gone by here, first quarter. Still looking for the game's first basket. Olivia Westfall, the transfer from Duquesne, has it on the far flank. Pittsburgh native from Bethel Park, Pennsylvania, Bethel Park High School. Swirling around to the MAC logo, this is Miles. A wild shot, falls way short of the rim. Kind of tossed up granny style there, and the rebound falls to the RedHawks. It's Lou Brown slinging for Treader. She'll touch pass up for Corey Lard, and she'll settle at the midcourt logo. Now Scott from the far side finds Lard on the flank. Cuts baseline with 11 to shoot. Flips back out. Lou Brown open for three from the left wing and buries.
It's a good-looking shot from Hennessy Lou Brown, and she has been a key factor on the perimeter in a lot of games where Miami has had some success on offense. If they can get her going, it'll bode well for the RedHawks today.
5 double-figure games since she's begun starting for this RedHawk team back in late January. It's 3-0 RedHawks, 8:22 to go first quarter. 10 left to shoot with the Eagles getting no penetration right now. Off a screen, this is Austin. Her pull-up jumper rattles home from the right elbow.
And just a good use of the ball screen there. Gets off the screen with one dribble, and an easy pull-up there for Lachelle Austin to get Eastern Michigan on the board. And Miami's defense is one that is going to challenge this Eastern Michigan offense with deflections and getting in passing lanes all game long.
Long three was taken and missed early in the shot clock, and Eastern Michigan's got the rebound. 3-2 RedHawks, just over 2 minutes gone by first quarter. And a post-entry pass is heavily bracketed by the RedHawks. Akay swings it back out. Three from the left wing by Austin. Off target, rebound tapped out, and it's back with the Eagles. Austin once again, just a 25% three-point shooter, but chucking it up from deep. Pass to the far elbow for Miles, downhill to the rack, and she gets fouled on the second chance opportunity. 7:31 to go first quarter. It's 3-2 Miami, and that will send Kennedy Miles, the senior from Cincinnati and transfer from Megan Duffy's Marquette team, to the free throw line. She is 61.2% on the season. Free throw line, though, has been somewhat of a strength, if you want to call it that. It's pretty much the only offensive category for Eastern Michigan that they don't sit near the bottom of the MAC in. It's 7th place. And her first free throw is well short, barely grazing the front of the rim.
You could see early in this game, Eastern Michigan very uncomfortable on offense so far, even on that possession. Lucky enough to get the foul call, but Miami is swarming them, and Hennessy Lou Brown has been very active trying to poke balls loose early in this game.
Second free throw is made to tie it at 3, and that has been a Glenn Box staple since arriving on campus. This has been a team built on deflections on the defensive end of the floor. Lou Brown has it from the right angle extended outside the arc, crossing back and forth. Now she'll jut to the left elbow and flip back out for Lard. 8 to shoot, straightaway long two taken by Lard. Drops in the well and out. And on the rebound, Miles couldn't control it. She had plenty of space, but she just lost it out of bounds. And the RedHawks get a gift of a second chance possession here with 7:04 to go in the first and a game tied at 3. So the RedHawks will have it from the far side offensive baseline, and it's floated back in by Lard. She connects with Lou Brown. Katie Richardson into the game. She's got the ball now. She's doubled, and the ball pops free. It's picked off the deck, though, by Corey Lard, who will now cross over on the left angle. 9 to shoot. Cutting across for the RedHawks. This is Riley Neal. Crafty move into the lane, and she gets fouled. Check that. That was Maddie Hoon that was spinning through for the RedHawks. The freshman from Carlsbad, California. And that was some nice creation to send her to the free throw line.
And a good play there by Hoon to get into the paint, and then the use of the head fake and the patience to get the defender up in the air and just use the up and under move to get the shot up on the rim, and now a chance to cash in at the free throw line.
Glenn Box has got all 4 of his players pulled off the line as he's talking to them in front of the Miami bench, and now it looks like the officials are going to look at this, and that'll take us to a timeout. So the officials are going to go to the monitor. They tell the teams to gather in the huddles, and they will take a look at what presumably might be a potential flagrant foul. We will check on that when we return here from Millett Hall. Early goings, first quarter, 6:49 to go in it, and it is Miami 3 and Eastern Michigan 3. Stay with us. You are listening to Miami Women's Basketball here on RedHawk Radio.
sun goes down. Feelings right, you wake me up when the sun goes down. Sleepless nights, you wake me up when the sun goes down. I can't help it, baby, not myself when the sun goes down. I can't, baby, I 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 in the night, you wake me up when the sun goes down. Feelings right, you wake me up when the sun goes down.
Luke West, Poley, Addison, Lenhart back with you as Miami and Eastern Michigan are tied up at 3, just getting ready to come out of this timeout. Officials went to the monitor for a little bit, but didn't find anything, and so we play on as we do. And we had some interesting things learned during the break, that one of our officials is Frank Sterator, which may be a familiar name to those that are either in the officiating ranks or just watch sports in general. Brother of Gene Sterator, the world-renowned rules analyst, former NFL and college basketball official, and Frank Sterator is also a former NFL official and is officiating this game. Maddie Hoon's at the free throw line for Miami, and she knocks the first one through with 6:49 to go in the first. That gives Miami a 4-3 lead. Second one in the air, and it is good. I love getting the backstories behind the officials. I'm a huge Jeffrey Anderson fan on the men's basketball side, so I'm all for the officiating stories.
High knees, Jeffrey Anderson.
I love Jeffrey Anderson. Jeffrey Anderson fan account is one of my favorite follows on Twitter.
That's a great one.
Baseline drive here for Austin back on the offensive end after Hoon made the second free throw. It's 5-3 RedHawks with 6:23 to go in the first. Downhill, slapped across the arms. Miles goes back to the free throw line. Addison, it seems like she's kind of the safety valve right now for Eastern Michigan. Miami's playing some pretty strong defense, but anytime the shot clock's under 10, it's just a dump off to Kennedy Miles in the paint for Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, so far, Lachelle Austin and Miles are the only two to attempt a shot, and this is already Miles' second trip to the free throw line, so she is definitely forcing the issue in this one. And she comes into this game averaging 8 points a game. That's good for third on this Eastern Michigan squad, and 9 rebounds. But she does play 27 minutes a game.
4 paint touches already for Kennedy Miles. She was at Marquette. We mentioned that already. She was previously at Illinois prior to that, so a couple of Power 6 schools on her resume. And gets the roll in the first.
And as the game goes along, if she continues to be a focal point on offense for Eastern Michigan, that matchup between her and Amber Treader will be interesting down the stretch, because Treader's been playing so well in the middle of this RedHawk defense for the better part of the season. And lately, she's been starting to add a lot more offense and perimeter expertise to that arsenal that she's building. And she's become one of the bright spots of this young Miami RedHawks team.
Miles made both free throws, averaging 8 points and 9 boards this season. Back tied at 5 with 6:07 to go in the first. It's Maddie Hoon up top for the RedHawks for Nuria Herho. Whipping around the arc with 10 to shoot. Hoon on the far side, cuts in, down to the ground she goes, recovers her footing, flips it back out, 3 from the near wing for Herho, and that catches the orange. Rebound picked up by Eastern Michigan. Ball is pushed ahead. This is Olivia Smith, the sophomore. Skip pass into the corner. It carried her teammate out of bounds. That was Lachelle Austin, who caught it falling backward and stepped on the sideline when trying to save the basketball. It'll go back to Miami with 5:45 to go in the first, and we're still tied at 5. Both teams off to a pretty rough start from the field. Eastern Michigan 1 for 4, Miami 1 for 5. 3 of their 5 attempts have come from 3. They've hit 1 of them.
This game has been played mostly in the half court so far. Neither team really able to get anything out in transition off a rebound or any sort of turnover so far in this game. Only 2 turnovers between the two, and both of them by Eastern Michigan.
Miami back with it on the offensive end. Behind the back on the dribble. Herho can't penetrate. 5 to shoot. She'll race toward the paint. Loft one up. It won't go. At the death of the shot clock, an offensive rebound. And a putback by Treader falls through. Now a transition fake for Smith. She'll Euro through, and she got swatted. Amber Treader on the MAC logo was waiting for it. Now she's got it in transition, 1-on-2. Goes up strong, gets fouled, and the harm will go to the free throw line for the and one. Wow, what a sequence from Amber Treader. Block and then a transition and one, and maybe that'll open something up for Miami to get out and run Addison.
And that pretty much encapsulates the Amber Treader experience right there. Opportunistic on the offensive glass, able to secure the rebound, and then her soft touch to get it to go, and then running back in transition with Eastern Michigan trying to push, and she gets the deflection, and then her ability to run the floor and make herself available for that pass and finish that one in transition. You don't see that from a freshman that often, and her ability is clear, and her potential is very high.
Treader averaging 10 and 7. Last game broke a streak for her that was previously 6 double-doubles in a row. Looking to rebound along with the rest of this RedHawk team after an ugly loss on Wednesday night. Spin into the lane from Miles, and the turnaround skyhook is pure. 10-7 our score with Miami in the lead. 4:33 to go first quarter. And it's Nuria Herho out for Richardson. Now this is Scott cutting across, slashed into the paint, and will flip it near wing. Richardson corner 3, buried. Katie Richardson, not a huge three-point shooter for this RedHawk team, just 25% without a whole ton of volume. But she's got the RedHawks' second triple, and Miami leads by 6 with 4:10 to go, in the first. And we get a foul on the RedHawks as Nuria Herho is called for the reach-in as Eastern Michigan was setting up in the half court.
And Richardson is very valuable to this RedHawks team, a lot due to her experience, one of the only returners from the previous regime. And Richardson, she is not a not usually a focal point on offense, somebody that Miami teams are usually able to run through offense through her, but she has definitely got the ability to get a bucket and step outside and hit one if needed.
Smith crossing back and forth and can't hit the shot in defender's faces. Lead pass ahead. Hoon with the shot fake to open up room. Can't finish at the bucket. Gets her own rebound, and now Treader's free throw line jumper misses to the right. And the rebound falls down to Olivia Smith for Eastern Michigan, and she'll carry it ahead. Now a pass is tipped, looking to go across, and the RedHawks take away. Lou Brown in transition from the left side, high off the window. That can't drop, and Eastern Michigan grabs the board. 3:32 to go first quarter, and the RedHawks lead at 13-7. And some missed opportunities in transition for Miami, a couple of missed lays.
It's a 2-possession game, and it should be a 10-point game, and you could see the frustration on Coach Box's face after that sequence of plays there.
Defense has never been a problem for this Miami team. It's been the offensive end where the struggles have reared up. 4 left to shoot for Eastern Michigan, passing it all the way around, dribbling at the shot clock death. Treasure Thompson holds on to it as it expires, and it's a shot clock violation on the Eagles. And that's another thing. We've talked about deflections, Addison, but something that Miami's been pretty good at defensively is just bleeding 30 seconds off and getting the ball back.
Yeah, and they are very talented at guarding one-on-one, and they rotate so well and switch so cleanly. They play such intelligent defensive basketball, and with Amber Treader in the middle to anchor everything, she also just adds that element of that rim protection that really makes this such a well-oiled machine on the defensive end.
Get a foul under the offensive basket as the RedHawks were going for a rebound. Corey Lard with a heck of a pass, threw it behind her head, back for Scott, who missed the mid-range jumper, and then the foul is called on the RedHawks on the rebound. It goes against Jada Scott. That puts Eastern Michigan in the bonus for now. 2:45 to go first quarter. It's 13-7 RedHawks. Swirling around the defense, Austin kicks to the near wing for Nia Boston, and she will toss it up and get fouled on a shot that didn't quite reach the rim, but will get her to the free throw line. Nia Boston, the junior from Stockton, California. This is just her 5th game of the season and has only played single-digit minutes in 3 out of those 4, but she's been on the board early on and hits the first free throw. Just her 2nd game now with points this season, the other coming in the MAC Sun Belt Challenge, which was an Eastern Michigan win over South Alabama. 2nd free throw is up and good from Boston. Great women's basketball last name, by the way. As that makes it a 13-9 game with 2:34 to go here in the first quarter. RedHawks have it on the offensive end. The Scott twins play catch. It's Jade on the far side. Back to her sister. Jaden just pulls from the right elbow and can't hit. Rebound soaring up for it. It was Akay, the Madrid, Spain native, that grabbed it. Boston trying to carry it ahead and just stumbled on her dribble. And she will turn it over as the RedHawks will have it back here following the violation. 2:14 to go in the first quarter, 13-9 RedHawks. Lou Brown in the front court for Miami. Dribbling just over waist high with the left hand, out for Scott. Treader right next to her. It's back to Lou Brown on the near side, and now touch to Richardson. Just inside the arc on the right wing. Swung up, Lard left of the key. Her 3 is knocked through. That breaks a scoreless streak for Miami that lasted a little over 2 minutes. RedHawks in front by 7. Eastern Michigan looking to push, and a travel in the paint. Tara Akay was trying to create space and traffic and took about 5 steps without a dribble. And the RedHawks force another turnover. That is now the 6th on the Eagles with 1:42 to go in the first. Lard hands for Lou Brown, and now it is Jada Scott on the far side. He's been shooting more lately. Gets it into the paint for Treader. Touch pass back out. Left elbow jumper from Richardson is perfect. Katie Richardson has been very active here in her first game back from injury in over a month. Hasn't played since January 20th. And Miami's in front by 9, 18-9, with 75 ticks left in the first. And an offensive foul away from the ball as Eastern Michigan was setting up. As Akay bowled over on Amber Treader. And it's another Eagle turnover, their 7th, with 1:13 to go in the opening quarter.
Eastern Michigan just kind of discombobulated right now. Miami taking advantage, a couple possessions in a row offensively where they were able to generate some good shots and get back on defense and set up in the half court. And they've played great complementary basketball so far in this one.
Treader's 3 from the left side is airballed short. Rebound pushed up ahead. Akay in transition. Can't finish at the cup. Offensive rebound tapped out to Miles. She drives baseline. It's plucked away by Richardson and will go out of bounds. It stays on that end of the floor with Eastern Michigan on the left side with 49.4 seconds left to go in the first, 17 to shoot. And Miami doubling up the Eagles 18-9. Offensively, this has been a quarter that Miami's done pretty much exactly what they've wanted to do. Eastern's got the ball back in and nearly losing it. Miles regathers and flips back out for Austin. She turns her back. Corey Lard prodding away. Austin comes off a screen. 4 to shoot. And now Lard will strip it through. Can't get possession. The shot clock expires and Lard will let it go. And just let the Eagles take care of it. It's a shot clock violation with 31.4 seconds to go. The second one forced by this Miami defense here in the first quarter. And the RedHawks lead at 18-9. They can almost hold for the final shot. Glenbach signaling to slow down. Corey Lard's got her back turned and is boinging it off the court shoulder high, and she gets fouled on a reach-in by Austin, who just got a little bit too involved. That's the Eagles' 4th foul, so Miami won't shoot for it. And the shot clock is still at 20 seconds, so still a 1.2-second difference between game and shot clock. The RedHawks will put it back in, and they will hold this for as long as they can.
You'd really like to stop the bleeding here if you're Eastern Michigan. This is a big possession heading into the rest of this game.
Here the RedHawks go with 7. This is Lard playing catch with Lou Brown. Lard from the elbow, back up Treader, fakes, fires from 3. It's off the heel, and the rebound pulled down by Miles as time expires on the first quarter. Not sure that was what the RedHawks were looking for. Amber Treader kind of second-guessed herself, pump-faked, and then chucked up an off-balance shot. And Miami can't connect on the final possession of the quarter. But the RedHawks do have a pretty sizable lead and are shut down defensively after 1 quarter of play. We'll step aside here from Millett Hall after 10 minutes from Oxford. It's Miami 18 and Eastern Michigan 9. You're listening to Miami Basketball on RedHawk Radio. We're back after this. Luke West Poley, Addison, Lenhart back with you. So glad you're with us. 10 minutes gone by. Still a half hour to go in this one between Miami and Eastern Michigan. It's Miami 18 and Eastern 9 after 1 quarter of play. We are underway here on quarter number 2 from Millett Hall. And it's the RedHawks moving it left to right on the offensive end in the pink uniforms here on Love Honor Care Day. Treader from the near side in an offensive foul as she was catching at a moving screen right in front of her. 13 seconds in, a turnover for the RedHawks. So Eastern Michigan will move it back right to left, and the Eagles did not have a whole lot of success offensively in that first quarter. 5 of their 9 points coming from the free throw line, just 2 for 8 from the field. 8 turnovers to boot as well in that first quarter for the Eagles. Up top, this is Kennedy Miles, who's been their offensive leader so far. Post-entry pass on the far side for Treasure Thompson. She's doubled, trapped in the corner, flips back out for Miles, and this will go the other way. As looked like she stepped on the sideline. Shot clock was winding, and Eastern Michigan in a moment of panic turns it over for the 9th time. That's Miles' 3rd. So 45 seconds into what's been a somewhat frenzied but pointless so far second quarter, with Miami leading Eastern Michigan 18-9. Treader's 3 from the near wing. That's off back iron, and behind the head, Scott hauls in the rebound. Reset back out for Lou Brown. Now this is Jaden Scott inside. Whips near wing for Corey Lard. Backing in, lost it on the floor. It's rolling, and it's picked up by Treasure Thompson for Eastern Michigan. Thompson's been one of their better shooters, shooting 50% or better in the last 7, but has not been super active in this game so far. Minute and a half gone by here in the second quarter, with Miami leading Eastern Michigan by 9. Smith to the far side with 5 to shoot. Back up to the key for Thompson. She drives, throws it up in the face of Scott, and got it to go at the buzzer.
Just good composure there and use of the angles by Treasure Thompson to get that one to go. But another possession where Eastern Michigan really had to struggle to get a look at the basket. And if you take a look at some of the stats from that first quarter, Miami, 6 of 18. They took 18 shots, which is 10 more than Eastern Michigan's 8 shots. And Eastern Michigan has also turned it over 9 times. And until the second quarter, Miami had not turned it over. So those are the 2 big things that you take a look at when you're trying to figure out the story of this game so far. And Miami has really controlled.
Speaking of undisciplined things like turnovers, Eastern Michigan during this sequence has now fouled twice in the front court for Miami. So they've reset this possession a couple of times, and now we'll get into the half-court set once again. So 2 quick fouls for the Eagles as we cross the 2-minute mark of the second quarter. Katie Richardson gets up on the Miami bench, and it's Scott from the top of the key. Swims it around and puts it back up for Lou Brown. She takes a long triple, and that missed too far to the right. Didn't catch rim off the bottom of the backboard. Rebound is taken by the Eagles. They'll push it ahead. Capaldi trying to drive on the baseline, and she tossed it away, but also committed an offensive foul on Lou Brown at the same time. It's a turnover regardless, and it will go back to Miami. So 7:42 to go here in the second quarter, and it's RedHawks by 7. And up ahead, this is Nuria Herho for Miami. Herho downhill on the left side, loses it, but regathers off the hardwood. She'll play catch with it. One of the few Spaniards in this game. Herho from Barcelona. Back up top, Lou Brown, another triple. Again, missed it right. Wide open, though, for the offensive board. Scott goes up and under and finishes.
If she can get going, that's going to be huge for Miami. They've played some of their best games when Jaden Scott has been the leading scorer for this team and has contributed on offense.
Scott with her first bucket and going the other way. Trying to drive on the baseline. It was Olivia Westfall. She stepped on the baseline. And, man, Eastern Michigan is just giving it away left and right now. That's their 11th turnover. And so it will be taken ahead by Nuria Herho for Miami. Scott has been a player for the RedHawks that has got going late in games. We'll see if that continues to be the case. Post-entry floater pass finds Richardson. She gets closed off, and the ball is batted out of bounds right under the basket. It'll stay on the right end of the floor with Miami with 17 left on the shot clock. 6:57 to go second quarter. RedHawks by 9. And on the far side baseline, Herho will provide the inbound. Overhead pass for Richardson in the mid-range. Pump fakes, slashes, and whips back out for Treader. Down the right lane, her floater off the window. That gets wedged off the heel. RedHawks get the offensive board courtesy of Herho, and will now go around the horn to the far side. Richardson just inside the arc, up for Treader. Holding overhead with 10 to shoot, trying to insert it for Herho. It got knocked away. Herho tracks it on the floor, though. Back out for Treader. Lou Brown off a screen. Can't get a shot up. She's tied up by Smith, and it will be a jump ball as Smith got to it with only a couple seconds left on the shot clock. Eastern Michigan's got the arrow, and they'll have the ball with 6:31 to go in the second, trailing 20-11.
I think the best and most complete defensive possession there from Eastern Michigan. Miami just kind of uncomfortable there, and Hennessy Lou Brown not even able to get a shot off as the shot clock was winding down there. And Eastern Michigan's got to start to string some of those possessions together. And scoreless for the last couple minutes, they need to get on the board here.
At the low block, Miles tried to turn it around, and she traveled. Was looking to just hook around the defense there and get into the paint. And Eastern Michigan's getting awful close to averaging a turnover a minute right now. They've got 12 of them with 6:16 to go in the second quarter. And Miami still leading 20-11. Herro's had the ball in her hands a lot. She tried to flip for Lard in the corner, and it was knocked out of bounds, but Lard got fouled. And so Lard will inbound it from the sideline right in front of the Eastern Michigan bench. Eastern Michigan averaging 18 turnovers a game. They sit 8th in the MAC in turnover margin. They are well in front of that mark right now. Miami into the bonus with the next foul. Still over 6 minutes to play in the second quarter, and it's Herho from the far side. Still looking for her first shot to go. She tried to dribble it in, and it got kicked by the defender that was on her. That was Tayra Ake. Fellow native of Spain. She's from the other big city. She's from Madrid. Under 6 to go, RedHawks have it back in the offensive end. Lard acted like she was going to go up for a shot. Instead, she feeds Richardson and left to the lane. She knocks it off the window and in for 2.
Great vision there by Lard, and a nice defensive play there, but a tough finish from Smith.
Just bullied her way through, worming through a couple RedHawk defenders. Kissed it off the window and in. 22-13 the score with Miami in the lead. 5:30 to go second quarter. It's Richardson from the left elbow, back from injury. Back out Lard, open for 3 from the right wing. Too strong, rebound rose up for her and caught by AK. And she'll leave it off for Smith, who carries it right to left up the floor, and now will trigger a 3, and it swirls the iron. Rebound tapped out. It's secured by AK. She kicks for Westfall. Her 3 won't go. Rebound tapped again by AK, but right into the awaiting arms of Treader, and the RedHawks bring it forward. Down the right wing, it's Corey Lard. Now she'll cut to the left, gets to the key, still going, and now we'll pick up her dribble and give to Amber Treader up top. Treader inside Herho. What a move to get off the defender and finishes from the left side.
That was beautiful there. And a nice cut there from Herho, and then felt the back defender and just used the head fake and was able to spin and hit that shot.
Credit Amber Treader with her 3rd assist. It's 24-13 RedHawks, and on the drive-in attempt, a travel called on Zanaya Nelson, and that will bring us to a timeout. Things are cooking for this RedHawk team right now. They've got an 11-point lead over Eastern Michigan, 24-13 our score, with the RedHawks in front. We're back to Millett Hall in just a jiffy. Stay with us. You're listening to Miami Basketball on RedHawk Radio. Back underway here at Millett Hall. Luke West, Poley, and Addison Lenhart with you. 4:25 to go second quarter, and the RedHawks bring it back onto the offensive end, leading 24-13 over Eastern Michigan. Herho fakes the three, now heads down left of the lane. Swing out for Hoon. Her triple try off front iron, and the rebound is pulled in by Miles right in the breadbasket. Up ahead for Eastern Michigan, Nia Boston called for the carry, and it's another giveaway for the Eagles. 14 turnovers now with 4:02 to go in the second quarter, and that has really hindered their progress. They've now shot 15 less field goals than Miami, and they trail by 11 on the scoreboard.
They've managed to only shoot 4 shots in 6 minutes of basketball in the second quarter and only 8 in 10 minutes of basketball in the first quarter, and it's all due to this Miami defense. You got to give a lot of credit to Coach Glenn Box and what he's got this team doing on the defensive side of the ball at this point in the season.
Lard just navigating the front court right now, weaving in and out, and she'll pull it back outside with 10 to shoot. This is Hoon, the freshman, already with a triple in this game. Gave for Treader. She tried to push baseline for Scott, but it's intercepted. Other way for Eastern Michigan, Lachelle Austin. 18 double-figure games this year. She'll give cross court. The three try from Nia Boston is off the far side rim, and the weak side rebound is pulled down by Amber Treader. Just her third board of the game. She's got 3 assists and 5 points for a freshman that's turned into a double-double machine for this Miami team. 6 straight prior to the loss against Toledo on Wednesday. 3:02 to go second quarter, 24-13 Miami. Lard backing down, cuts into the paint, spins, left side, gets fouled on the attempts. Swatted across the arms, and she'll go to the free throw line. Miami has not shot a ton of charity tosses in this game, just 3, and they've hit them all. 2:56 to go in the second, 24-13 RedHawks, and Corey Lard, who is one of Miami's better free throw shooters at 75%, is at the line. Lard on the best stretch of her Division I career so far. The JUCO transfer from Barton Community College. Can't hit the first free throw. 6 straight games in double figures for her. Prior to this streak of 6 straight, she had only 1 double-digit game this season. Does hit the second free throw. And Lard is now up to 4 first-half points. Under 3 minutes to go in the second quarter. And Miami leads 25-13. On the front court, cutting in. Austin closed off, pushes back out for Smith, and now has it again on the right elbow extended. Skip pass near wing. Nelson tries to drive. She got stuffed going up top, and it's a held ball. Possession arrow in favor of Miami. As the jumper went nowhere, the 2 towers to stop it for the RedHawks were Scott along with Treader.
There's just nowhere to go for this Eastern Michigan team. Completely lost on the offensive side of the ball. And they've managed now to equal their amount of turnovers to the amount of shots that they've taken in this first half. 14 apiece in both of those categories.
Lard left alone in the far corner, and she cashes in the triple.
Corey Lard is such a crucial piece to the success of this RedHawks team. At that lead guard position, she plays with great pace, and she facilitates great offense. But occasionally, she's able to step outside and knock down shots. She's one of the best one-on-one creators from a scoring perspective that Miami has on this team.
Austin out of control with the dribble, and she gave it away. Lou Brown in transition, pushes up for Hoon. Now Lard, heat check 3, grazes the front rim. Rebound fought for, down on the floor. Treader taps it back for Lard. She can't finish at the rim, but it's knocked out of bounds on the rebound attempt by Miles. Huge effort possession there from Miami's Amber Treader. Gives the RedHawks a second chance. They get a third chance thanks to the miscue. 2 players down low for Eastern Michigan. And Miles crashed into her teammate trying to get that board and threw it out of bounds. 100 seconds left in the half. RedHawks lead by 15, 28-13. And they've got 20 seconds to work with for their third chance on this possession. Scott has it just inside the arc straight away. Gives for Hoon. Thought about the pop-up from the left elbow. Instead pulls back down. Lou Brown now will try from deep. And she missed it off the back of the rim. Rebound is secured by Eastern Michigan. Eagles trying to push it up the floor. Miami is back there defensively, though, and they're into the half-court set with 1 minute and 11 seconds to go. in quarter number 2, 28-13, the Red Hawk advantage. Downhill on the left side, a nice little pivot foot open up for Austin. Gives her a good shot, but on the rebound, Miles catches and is called for a travel under the basket. And, I mean, Eastern Michigan just can't get out of their own way right now, tripping on their own legs, as they've now taken 15 shots and committed 16 turnovers with 1 minute and 1 second left in the second quarter, and they rightfully trail by a sizable margin on the scoreboard at 15.
Miami has not shot the ball particularly well from the field either, only 10 for 31 in this game, but they've taken care of the basketball and been able to get up looks. And that's what Eastern Michigan simply has not been able to do in this one.
31 shots for Miami to Eastern Michigan's 15. Treader, Mac Logo with the hop step. It falls short. Again goes down on the floor for a rebound. Richeson's put back is too strong off the window, and it's pulled back down for Eastern Michigan. Up ahead, this is Austin. Directing traffic, Lachelle Austin just 2 points in the first half, averages over 9 a game. Shot and game clock separated by 5 seconds, 20 seconds to go in the half, with Eastern Michigan trailing by 15. Just inside the arc on the left side, Thompson hands it off. Now a 3 triggered and connected with. On the outside, count the basket good for Nia Boston from deep. That's her first 3-point make of the year. 28-16, 2 seconds to go. Richeson's 3 for the near side. Got it to go at the buzzer. And a fitting end to the first half for Miami. Like Addison said earlier on, didn't shoot the ball particularly well, but they did pretty much everything else right. They answer Eastern Michigan's first 3 on one end of the floor with a 3 of their own on the other. And at the halftime break, Miami leads it by a 31-16 score. Addison, there are many different ways you can rebound for a loss, but this is a pretty good one for this Miami team after 20 minutes. A sizable advantage, and definitely deservedly so after the first half of play, up big on Eastern Michigan.
Yeah, well, this is exactly how Miami wants to play. They want to make the game ugly, and they want to force you into bad shots, and they haven't even forced Eastern Michigan into bad shots because they've just taken the ball away from them. 16 turnovers from Eastern Michigan in that first half to only 4 by Miami. That has been the difference in the game, and if they can continue to sustain that in the second half, Miami's going to have a chance to stretch this thing out.
Eastern Michigan is 5 for 16 from the field. Miami is 5 for 16 from 3. They've also hit 6 shots from inside the arc on 18 attempts, and that is a big, big part why this Red Hawk team has such a big lead at halftime. Great bounce back half for Miami following an ugly loss on Wednesday against Toledo. At the break here from Millett Hall, it's Red Hawks 31 and Eagles 16. Addison and I back in just a little bit with the second half of play. We'll now send it over to Sean Wiesemann, for the Red Hawk Radio halftime.
What an outstanding performance here from the RedHawks, especially defensively. I mean, unbelievable stuff. Giving up only 16 points here for the Eagles. I can't say enough though about Katie Richardson. She, in her first game back in over a month, made her presence felt. 10 points for Richardson, along with a rebound and just outstanding interior defense. Really, really awesome stuff. I cannot say enough about how her presence has been felt, especially in the post. Kennedy Miles, the forward for Eastern Michigan, only 5 points. They haven't even let Ike get a haven't even let Ike get a single point, who has been one of their better offensive players too. Really, really awesome stuff for Richardson here. She's just made her presence known, and she hasn't even played a ton of minutes here either. Very, very impressive stuff. I'll stop gushing about her for just a minute though. On the whole, very impressive performance for the Miami RedHawks squad. Corey Lard with 7, Amber Treader 5. Treader's probably looking at another double-double with another 4 rebounds. She's well on her way for 1. On top of that, Treader with 3 assists, Corey Lard 4 assists, Maddie Hoon with 2 assists as well. Really just a well-rounded performance all around for the RedHawks. And the big key here has been that they've been able to get way more shots off. They are 11 for 34, shooting about as well from the field field goal percentage-wise as Eastern Michigan is. However, they've been able to get twice as many shots off, like I mentioned, 34 shots to the Eastern Michigan 16. getting off 16 three-point shots when they average 16.3 point shots per game. I mentioned that at the halftime show, that I thought that getting 3-point shots was going to be part of Glenn Box's game plan, and it has been. And while they're not hitting them at a super high clip, only 5 for 16, like my friend Luke mentioned, still really impressive stuff that they've been able to get. The big thing, though, has been turnovers. Turnovers. Lots of just ugly possessions for Eastern Michigan, and they've been turning the ball over as a result. They've actually been out-rebounding the RedHawks 19 to 15 and 14 to 6 defensive rebounds, but the turnovers have just been absolutely killing the RedHawks. Not the RedHawks, the Eagles rather. And as a result, just nothing that the Eagles are able to get through defensively. In fact, it's because it's been 16 turnovers to the Eagles for the Eagles, the RedHawks 4. We can do a quick game recap though for those of us who weren't here. Started off really slow. I mean, it was 3-3 first 3 minutes of the game. Neither team could really get any offense going, just missing a lot of contested shots. Kind of ugly. However, about halfway through the first quarter, we were it was 10-5 with the RedHawks offense really obviously starting to string together a couple possessions. Richardson with a big three to take a 13-7 lead with limited minutes too. She only played about 10 of the 20 possible minutes, but she's been responsible for such a great start and giving them lots of spacing. And just the guards for Eastern Michigan have had such a tough time with guarding somebody who's 6'1" but is 2 for 2 from 3, and as a result, just not good stuff for Eastern Michigan, and that just presents a matchup nightmare for them. Overall, though, at the end of the first quarter, it was 18-9 RedHawks, and they just took that momentum further into the second with just a lot of turnovers. The RedHawks were outstanding in forcing turnovers and not giving the ball back, with only 8 turnovers for the Eagles in the first quarter. First 10 minutes, they turned the ball over 8 times and 0 for the RedHawks. And despite being out-rebounded 11-6 in that first quarter, it was the turnovers that were really making a big difference in allowing the RedHawks to get off to a big lead early. At the 6-minute mark, it was 22-11, and while Taria Ike was killing them on the boards with 7 rebounds in the first 15-ish minutes into the game, it really wasn't affecting the RedHawks at all. I mean, they were up 25-13 with just under 3 minutes left at the under 3-minute mark, and Richardson and Treader and Scott have just been absolutely tearing up the Eagles in the paint, and as a result, it is 31-16 here at the half. About 9.5 minutes until the end of the half here, but we have an exciting matchup later today. So stick around for an outstanding matchup between Central Michigan, who is 16-10, and the RedHawks, who are 12-14. RedHawks looking to get a bid into the MAC tournament and potentially then get into the NCAA tournament, which would be an outstanding performance for the RedHawks here. Same deal with our RedHawks. On the women's side, 1 game out from getting a MAC tournament bid, and we'd love to see that, obviously. It gives them a chance to even make the NCAA tournament, especially. And Glenn Box's first season, just making the MAC tournament would be a big win, considering the amount of turnover and the fact that Katie Richardson's the only one who was even here last year who's been getting significant minutes. We could take it down to the scoreboard. Outstanding matchup, Houston and Baylor, in-state matchup. Number 2 Houston versus number 11 Baylor. 3.5 minutes left in that game. Houston, the number 2 team in the country, winning only by 3 against Baylor, 62-59. Florida, who's been surging as of late, is up 13 at the half against Vanderbilt. Later today, we have Washington, Arizona. Arizona, the number 4 team in the country, and then we have an Iowa State team, number 6 team in the country, playing West Virginia at 2. Duke playing Wake Forest at 2 as well. BYU, Kansas State, Iowa, Illinois, also playing at 2:15. We have a great slate of men's games. We can go to the women's games, though. In top 25 matchups, Texas is winning by 16, number 5 team in the country. They are winning 59-43. 32 seconds left in the third quarter. Creighton is winning by 11, 7:50 in the fourth quarter against Villanova. Baylor and West Virginia in a ranked matchup are playing at 2 p.m., which should be a great game. Oklahoma State in a Bedlam rivalry in their final matchup together in the Big 12. playing on 2 p.m. on Fox. And the Princeton Tigers, who are ranked 25th and are 20-3, playing Columbia, 18-5, 2 p.m. as well. That's an outstanding game. Tickets for that are starting at just $57, so you can see what a big matchup that is. And Gonzaga, who has been absolutely tearing up the West Coast Conference at 27-2, playing Pepperdine. Absolutely dominant for them. Overall, though, in the MAC, we've had not a lot of action the last few days. Most of the games have been played, but we do have some action going on right now as Western Michigan and Central Michigan are about to close out their game, with Western Michigan winning 74-47 against Central Michigan. Another game at half is Kent State and Akron. Kent State 15-8, Akron 9-15. Kent State up 39-30 at the half. Akron held to just 9 points in the first quarter. Another game to keep an eye on, as Akron is tied with Miami in the MAC standings, and so definitely a game we want Akron to lose to help the RedHawks here. Later today, though, at 2 p.m., so just a few minutes here, we have Ohio playing Buffalo. OU is 5-8, and Buffalo 7-6 in the MAC. Buffalo 14-10 overall in the MAC, 8-16 for Ohio overall. That was also a very important game for the RedHawks to keep an eye on, as OU is one game ahead of the RedHawks in the standings and are the team that is preventing them right now from being in the MAC tournament, as they're 8th in the conference and the RedHawks are 9th in the conference. An outstanding performance, an outstanding matchup, though, at 2 p.m. later today. That will probably be for the MAC title. Ball State versus Toledo. Ball State with a chance to potentially get an at-large bid at just 23-3, 12-1 in the MAC, playing Toledo, who's also 12-1 in the MAC, 20-4. That will, like I said, likely be for the MAC title, a game that we will be keeping an eye on here in the studio. Final game being played at 2 p.m. today is Bowling Green, who is 6-7 in the MAC, 13-11 overall, and Northern Illinois, who is 13-12, 6-7 in the MAC. That is going to be a game that we will definitely be keeping an eye on. So in the meantime, though, we will take a break for the final few minutes, and we will kick it back to our studio here. We'll kick it back to our friends here at RedHawk Radio in just a second. But in the meantime, other news: RedHawks have announced that their schedule for this upcoming football season, and they will first start with not Notre Dame, rather. They will start with a game against Cincinnati in the battle for the Victory Bell on September 14th, and a game being played at Yager Stadium, which will be super exciting. We hope to all see you there next semester. They also play Notre Dame, they play Massachusetts, and they have the rest of their conference. Super exciting. And another news: Graham Nicholson was named preseason All-American by ESPN as kicker. He briefly entered the transfer portal, but good news for RedHawks fans, he is back. So exciting news for them. Once again, have probably the best special teams duo of him and Alec Bevelheimer. Who doesn't love special teams? Anyways, we'll be back to you in just a few minutes here. Score is 31, Miami Eagles of Eastern Michigan 16. We'll be back to you in just a couple minutes.
Back inside Millett Hall, Luke West, Poley, and Addison Lenhart with you as Miami leads Eastern Michigan 31-16 at the halftime break. And Addison, for this Miami team in the second half, I mean, you finish half as well as you started, and this game is yours. It was a really, really strong effort from this RedHawk team at home in the first 20 minutes, especially on the defensive side of the floor. Probably unlikely the RedHawk team forces 16 more turnovers like they did in the first half here in the final 20 minutes, but this team's put themselves in a really good position to get a much-needed win. Yeah,
and they've done exactly that, taking care of the ball and turned Eastern Michigan over. 16 turnovers for Eastern Michigan, equal to the amount of shot attempts that they had. 16 field goal attempts in that first half by the Eagles in Miami. That's exactly the type of game that they want to play. Only shooting 32% from the field in that first half, still up 15 because they made the game ugly and were able to speed Eastern Michigan up and turn them over. And then a huge lift from Katie Richardson, who's only played 10 minutes in this first half, coming back off injury. She missed a few games, and she's given them a huge lift. 4 for 5 from the field, 2 for 2 from downtown. She leads them in scoring with 10.
Yeah, game high for Richardson, only player in double figures, and not a huge three-point shooter, but man, she has not missed a beat. Her first game in a month and 4 days, last played on January the 20th here at Millett Hall. Yeah, and you mentioned, I mean, 10 minutes, it isn't a ton, but honestly, the way things were going with Richardson and how serious they thought the injury might be, they knew she was going to progress. The fact that she came back this early, A, is good, obviously, but B, you're wondering how close to 100% she really was, and it was looking like a game where maybe she'd see some spot minutes off the bench and, you know, maybe ends up with 10 for the game, but 10 in the first half and being this active as a member of this Miami offense has been really impressive, and she looks to be pretty close to 100% for this RedHawk team, which is huge, as, like you mentioned, they really needed an offensive facelift after the slugfest at Toledo on Wednesday.
Yeah, and outside of her, I mean, the rest of the team has shot fairly poorly, but Richardson has been consistent on offense and just kind of gotten to her spots and been able to make shots when she's open. They've been able to rely on her to do that, and she's not a player that they're going to run much offense through or look to get open looks on offense, but when she's able to pick her spots and make herself available through the flow of the offense, she can be valuable, and that's exactly what she did in that first half.
Underway here on half number 2. Settle back and enjoy. Luke West, Poley, and Addison Lenhart with you, with Miami leading Eastern Michigan 31-16. In the green uniforms, Eastern moves it left to right, and it is a turnover right off the rip for Capaldi. Gave it away to Scott. Bullies her to the basket, but can't finish on the transition attempt. Rebound ripped away by Kennedy Miles, and Eastern will go back to work on the offensive end. From the far side, this is Olivia Westfall, averaging just 3.5 points per game. Got the start. Slings near wing. Miles long 2 wouldn't go, and on the rebound, it is a foul. AK got the board for Eastern Michigan, but had some illegal contact down low. She's whistled for the violation. Nobody in too much foul trouble, Addison, for Eastern Michigan, but it was certainly an issue on rebounding and on the offensive end of the floor. Eastern committed a lot of fouls as a team, 16 in the first half.
Yeah, and it's interesting because Eastern Michigan actually out-rebounding Miami on the defensive glass with 15, and Miami only was 7 defensive rebounds, but it's mostly just because Miami has turned them over so much. They haven't even been able to attempt those shots. But they've committed a lot of, as you said, ticky-tack silly fouls that these officials have made them pay for.
Jaden Scott goes up and under on the baseline, and this has been where she's had success in second halves of games this season. 33-16 is the Miami lead. Miles thought about it from the nail, gives back outside, slashing in Capaldi. Down to the floor she goes. Ball is stuck on the hardwood, and it is tied up. Officials are going to discuss here. Believe a jump ball was called. The far side official called a jump ball, but we'll have to see. Possession arrows in favor of Miami, and it does look to be the call. A held ball, and it will go to Miami here. 1 minute and 17 seconds into this third quarter. It's 33-16 RedHawks. Eastern won for their last 7 from the field, and that streak has been over the course of probably 13, 14 possessions with the amount of times they've turned it over as well. Lou Brown has it from the far side for Miami, just 3 points off 1 for 5 shooting. Rough first half for her, but did have the ball in her hands a lot. Now it's Treader just inside the arc. Drives and kicks. Outward, it's Scott. Back up, Lou Brown. Pump fakes the three with 5 to shoot. Back turned. Lou Brown catches the contact. A scoop-up shot. Couldn't roll the front of the rim. Rebound is into the hands of Miles for Eastern Michigan. Racing it ahead. Miles stops her dribble and pushes back out for Olivia Smith. Top 10 in the MAC in minutes last season. Played just 13 in that first half. Thrown back out near half court. It is out of bounds on a pass gone wrong for the Eagles. Nowhere in the vicinity of Lachelle Austin, who is the intended target. It's another Eagle turnover. Now 19 on the game. 2 more than their field goal attempt total. And 2 minutes and 5 seconds into the third. It's Red Hawk basketball leading 33-16.
Just been a lot of moments from Eastern Michigan in this game where there's just been miscommunication. Players passing to other players with their backs turned, and it's led to a lot of turnovers in there. Just not sure who that ball was going to, and neither of them attempted to try and retrieve it.
Scott with the fall away two, and that catches the orange. Rebound in the near corner for Thompson for Eastern Michigan. Austin bounding forward. Round to the far wing for Olivia Westfall. Westfall steps in the arc and takes a long two. Left and long, and the rebound picked up for the RedHawks by Lard. Lou Brown now just outside the paint, stops her dribble, flips back to the exterior. This is Scott cutting across down the right side. It was stripped free. Ball is loose on the floor, but it hit off of Lachelle Austin, whose foot was on the baseline when that happened, and so it is out of bounds to Miami. So they'll have 17 more seconds to work with on the shot clock with 7:05 to go in the third. Amber Treader coming off for Miami. Just 5 points, 0 for 4 from deep, 6 rebounds for the freshman out of Ferdinand, Indiana. Looking to get back to her double-double streak. 6 of the last 7. Was 6-6 before Wednesday night's loss. Lard has it left of the key, jabbing with 8 to shoot. Swerving back and forth. Triggers the long two in the face of Lachelle Austin, and it rattles off. Rebound pulled down by Smith. Long pass into the corner is picked up by Nelson. Now she has it on the far flank. Post-entry feed lofted in for Miles, and trying to turn it around, it got stripped away. Lead pass for Lou Brown. Races into it, goes up and under and scores. A lot of up and under stuff for this Miami team, and they force the hand finally of Keisha Blanton. Timeout Eastern Michigan as this lead has grown to 19. 6:29 to go third quarter, and Miami continuing where they left off after the halftime break as they lead at 35-16, 3 minutes and 31 seconds in.
In these last couple possessions, Hennessy Lou Brown's done a great job of sprinting back after the defensive possession, and she did it on the possession prior. And she had an open three, and she passed it up and decided to dribble into the lane. But she did a great job of setting herself up on that last possession there where she was able to actually cash in on the bucket, got back in transition, and set herself up for an easy layup off the pass from Richardson.
Man, this Miami team is really putting the hammer down right now on Eastern Michigan. I mean, being quite honest, Addison, this team has picked up some good wins this year. And they've got some quality results in MAC play where the score line looked like they were in full control, and in large part in many of those games they were, but I'm thinking back years trying to find a game where they looked this dominant against a conference opponent. I mean, it does not even look close right now.
Yeah, and they've dominated on all facets of the basketball game so far. And Eastern Michigan clearly is just lost on both sides of the ball. Miscommunications on offense and defense. Miami has just got them completely confused on both sides of the ball. And you got to give a lot of credit to Miami for creating that disruption despite a poor shooting night from them. Only 32% from the field and 13 of 40. And Miami has remedied that by locking up on defense and forcing a lot of turnovers. And just playing disciplined and taking good shots even though they aren't falling for the most part. Miami's done a good job of not giving Eastern Michigan any live ball opportunities. And they've recognized that Eastern Michigan is struggling in the half court against them. And if they can just get back on defense and slow the game down to their pace, they're going to be able to create a lot of issues for the Eagles.
And the stick-to-itiveness of this RedHawks team, we've seen it a couple times in spurts this year, but like you mentioned, when the shots aren't falling, to still be this dominant and shell up defensively, and in a game where really it's not clicking offensively, being totally honest. You're up almost 20 points with still 16 minutes left to go in the game. This is great resiliency from what is a pretty young Miami team that does not have a whole lot of experience, and even less experience at the Division I level. And you look at some of the talent they've brought in from the JUCO level. But man, I mean, this team fights hard. They always do. You can't fault Glenn Box on that really ever. I mean, it's a team that puts in really consistent effort every single game, and tactically sometimes things don't go well, and skills-wise sometimes this team is a little out of sorts, but in terms of just the pure effort that is given, this team has been second to none this season, and that's just the type of buy-in that Glenn Box has gotten in year one. And that's why this rebuild, even though Miami, they're not lighting it up right now, it does feel like the rebuild is a little bit ahead of schedule with the roster that Glenn Box inherited here and coming in late and taking over as head coach. Coming back out of the timeout, it's Eastern Michigan down 19 with 6:20 to go in the third, 35-16 RedHawks. In the front court, this is Lachelle Austin. She plays catch and has it back on the left, or check that right angle extended, drives baseline, leaves it off. Thompson went to go up with it and left the ball on the floor. Lou Brown racing it the other way, fakes the pass, got it stripped free, and a reach-in foul is called. Check that, an offensive foul is called on Miami. It looks like it's away from the ball potentially.
I believe Scott there was, she was sprinting back on defense and trying to create position for the rebound and just got out of control a little bit.
Yeah, it is on Scott. So that's the first team foul for Miami of the quarter. Back inside, Foley bracketed through the trees. Austin can't score it for the MAC logo. And Scott grabs the rebound for Miami. Lard behind the back on the dribble, comes off a screen, needles down the center of the paint, picks up her dribble and flips back outside. Richardson's three, off target. That's her first miss from deep. And the rebound batted into the arms of Smith. Her lead pass, though, right between the wickets of Austin going down the floor. And it flies out the baseline. And Miami will be the beneficiaries of another turnover with 5:34 to go third quarter. It's 35-16 RedHawks, and now some pressure being picked up in the full court by Eastern Michigan, but the RedHawks easily break it. A little bit more methodical here from Glenn Box as Corey Lard has it near corner of the logo. She'll push off for Lou Brown and now has it back. Lard steps back and takes the two, and that might have grazed the bottom of the strings, but nowhere close. Rebound by Eastern Michigan. Nelson takes it the length of the floor and Euros in the lane, but can't finish the 5-footer. And the RedHawks have it back. Lead pass forward, looking from Scott to Scott. It is tapped away by Smith. She'll now lead the other way for Miles, and she gets fouled right under the basket, looking for the transition opportunity. It will go against Hennessy Lou Brown, who closed her off and gave her a smack on the arms. And that will send Kennedy Miles to the free throw line. Just past the 5-minute mark of the third quarter, and these will be the first free throws of the half that Eastern Michigan shot, and actually first since the opening quarter of play. We've reached immediate timeout here from Millett Hall, and we will step aside with 4:55 to go in the third quarter. It's Miami 35 and Eastern Michigan 16. You're listening to Miami Basketball on Red Hawk Radio. Poley, Addison, Lenhart back with you. So glad you're with us on this Saturday afternoon. First end of the doubleheader is going very, very well for the home squad in pink as the Miami RedHawks on Love Honor Care Day here from Oxford lead Eastern Michigan 35-16. Kennedy Miles is at the free throw line for Eastern Michigan, local kid nearby here to Oxford from Cincinnati. And she rattles the first free throw home. Lowest max scoring performance of the season for Miles. The first time these two teams met in what was actually an Eastern Michigan win. She only had 3 points. She has now got the game high for Eastern Michigan with 6 points out of their 17 total. Second free throw in the air, and that drops through. 35-18, the Miami lead with 4:55 to go in the third, and Eastern Michigan back picking up their pressure in the full court. RedHawks break it. Scott tosses it ahead across the timeline on the left wing to Hennessy Lou Brown, and now she'll give across for Nuria Herho. Saw a lot of minutes in the first half, in the first quarter, I should say, 7 of them, and is now back onto the floor for the first time in a little while. RedHawks passing it around the arc. It's Herho. Post insertion for Treader. Turns her back towards the basket, into the paint with 3 to shoot. Lofts it up with the left hand. Might have got tipped. It fell short off the backboard. Rebound is picked up on the far side of the paint by Eastern Michigan's Zanaya Nelson. Back to the offensive end. Thompson backing down. Her turnaround shot with the foul, and it rolls home. And maybe something for Eastern Michigan to ignite this offense in what has been a very lackluster game. 22 turnovers to 20 field goal attempts. But Eastern Michigan will go back to the free throw line and have a chance to cut this to 14 with 4:14 to go in the third. And the free throw is pure to make it a 35-21 Miami lead, and the pressure once again ratchets up for Eastern Michigan. RedHawks once again break it as it's Herho to Scott to Lou Brown on the far side. Miami now into the half-court set, and again Glenn Box is slowing them down here, wanting to use much of this clock. Pass up top for Treader, looking for the deflection. Nelson came flying in and caught Treader up high. She's called for the foul. That is the second team foul for Eastern Michigan of the third quarter. And with 3:59 to go in the third, Miami leading 35-21. 20 seconds on the shot clock, and they'll inbound from the far sideline. Herho running the point for Miami. 2 points for her so far. Now it's Richardson from the top of the key, near wing. This is Jada Scott. Scott looking for her first bucket. Back to the far side for Herho. 5 left to shoot. Lou Brown has it now in her hands. 3 seconds left to go. Treader fakes, puts up a fadeaway jumper at the buzzer, and it doesn't catch rim. It's a shot clock violation on Miami. With 3:38 to go in the third, the RedHawks turn it over for just the 7th time. Still leading by 14, but Eastern Michigan, Addison, got a little bit of ignition offensively, and they're starting to string together some stops.
And I like the move by Coach Blanton to go to that full court press and try to speed this game up a little bit, steal some possessions from the RedHawks. And 14 with about 13 minutes of game time to go is, in a normal game, certainly not insurmountable. And Eastern Michigan, with the way they've played offensively, it is insurmountable. But if they can start to get some momentum here and start to get some more stops, but Miami's still rock solid on defense on that possession there.
Austin misfired on the 3. The rebound by Corey Lard for the RedHawks. Down to the right elbow, tried to slip it through to Herho, but it was intercepted. Numbers the other way for Eastern Michigan. Down the right side. No finish from AK. Rebound fought for, and we get a tie-up. Jump ball call. Possession arrow with Miami with 2:57 to go in the third. And it is still 35-21 RedHawks. Crowd is growing larger in size with the men's basketball game coming up on the other end. Miami inbounds, and it's quickly battered right back where it came from by the Eagles. It'll stay with the RedHawks. Men's game comes up at either 3:30 or 30 minutes after the conclusion of this game, whichever is to come last. And with the RedHawks getting it in, Herho is called for the travel. She's kind of shuffling her feet, looking for somewhere to go. And Eastern is hanging around right now. They get a turnover, and Miami can't get it across the timeline. Still plenty of time left in this one. 2:50 to go in the third quarter, and the lead is 14. Westfall takes a handoff at the free throw line, lobs it down low for Thompson, looking for a bubble of space, forced to kick back outside for Smith. Olivia Smith coming off the bench today, normally a starter. She will take a pretty contested triple and line drives it off the front rim. Long rebound picked up by the RedHawks and Scott. Herho, though, carried it across the timeline and might have got called for the over and back there. She kind of got trapped. And it's another turnover for Miami, and as good as things were through the first 25 minutes, these last two have been less than ideal for this RedHawk team.
Just possibly a little complacency here setting in for this RedHawks squad, and they've played a great game thus far, but part of growing up and becoming a good program and one of the elite programs is you got to finish these games off and play a full 40 minutes, and a young Miami team getting an opportunity to deal with some of that adversity and learn from some of these mistakes in this game right here.
Eastern missed another three, and it went out of bounds to the RedHawks, so Miami catches another break. Eastern Michigan has not taken many threes in this game, and they've only hit 1 out of 6. Lard had it at the left elbow, and she got fouled as the ball popped up in the air. Olivia Westfall was guarding. Westfall picks up her second foul. She's been a good indicator when she's gotten hot of when Eastern Michigan has been good, when she's had 11 points this season, which has happened 3 times. That's resulted in a couple of Eagle wins, which have been hard to come by at times this season for EMU. Under the basket, trying to bully for some space. Scott high off the glass, and an unlucky roll won't give it to her. Eagles get the board. Up ahead from the right side, this is Westfall. Holding overhead, elects to go into the paint for Eke. Cross-court feed, quickly comes to the near wing. Westfall open for 3, and knocked it off the rim, no good. Rebound by Scott for the RedHawks. Minute 13 to go, third quarter, 35-21 is the Miami advantage. Lard open from the top of the key, and banked it off the backboard way too long. Eagles get the rebound and will skip it to the near side for Westfall. Spinning, enters the paint, floats one up, and it rolls over the front of the rim and in. That was a creative bucket from Olivia Westfall. Finally on the board after playing 16 minutes, and it's a 12-point ball game with under a minute left to play in this half. Shot and game clock separated by 23 seconds. Hoon takes the jumper, and it bounces off. Rebound picked up by AK for Eastern Michigan. Shot and game clock separated by 5 seconds. Post-entry pass is batted back out to Westfall. Again, it's forced into the paint for Eke, and she goes to work in the face of Treader, spinning off the left and scoring with that same hand. Shot clock is dark. It's 35-25 RedHawks. 12 seconds left to go in the third quarter. Lard will settle it down for the final shot. Slashing it across, whips back out. Treader's right wing 3. In and out and back into the bucket. With 2 seconds left to go, Eastern gets it back in but can't get the shot off. Lucky roll there for Amber Treader. It popped out of the cylinder, hit off the backboard, and then fell back through after swirling the iron. And Miami gets a much-needed basket to stop the bleeding after an Eastern Michigan run that brought them within 10. It's been re-extended to a 13-point lead after 3 quarters of play. Amber Treader up to 8 points, second on the team for Miami. It's 38-25 RedHawks with 1 more quarter left to go in regulation. Miami looking to finish it off when we come back. You're listening to Miami Basketball on RedHawk Radio. quarter here from Millett Hall as Miami leads Eastern Michigan 38-25. Luke West, Poley, and Addison Lenhart with you as we are back going here from Millett, and a travel right away for Eastern Michigan as it was carried forward for the Eagles, and they will give it away for the 24th time in this game. They still lead the turnover category by a heavy amount, Miami with just 10. They have now taken more field goals than they have turnovers, but they're not hitting them right now. Just 8 shots have fallen for Eastern Michigan from the field as they trail by 13. They trimmed it to as many as 10, as few as 10, I should say, before the RedHawks got a 3 from Amber Treader at the buzzer. Treader inside right there had a tough attempt that did not get above the height of the rim for the MAC logo, and Eastern Michigan's got it back to the offensive end. A post-entry pass intended for Thompson went way over her head, and Scott will intercept it for Miami as the RedHawks take it back. Corey Lard to the far side, 7 points for her. Hasn't scored in a little while, though, for this Miami team. RedHawks offensively really slowed down in that third quarter after an okay first half, but only 7 points in that third, a game low. Treader drives baseline, finds Scott on the near wing, takes a long 2, and connects with it. Needed that one from Scott, and Miami's back up 15, a minute 20 seconds into this fourth quarter. Over to the far wing, Dara Capaldi, the East Detroit native, has it for Eastern Michigan, nearby to Ypsilanti. Now a K. Laterally for Smith. Rotates it back to K, into the baseline. It is lengthened to the corner for Boston. Put back out with 3 on the shot clock. A contested triple by Westfall won't go, but the rebound falls into the hands of a K, who's put back from the MAC logo does. 40-27 with 8:05 to go. Eastern Michigan nearly trapped Corey Lard against half court, but avoided the over and back, and now the RedHawks are into the half court set. It's Scott from the far side of the paint. Overhead pass back outward for Lard in the far corner of the logo at 10 to shoot. Lard hands off for Lou Brown with 5 points. Now it's swung back to the near wing for Lard, driving in with 3 to shoot, tried to give up and got a shot on the arm, and will go to the free throw line as a late shot clock foul is committed by the Eagles, and with 7:41 to go in the fourth, Miami does, Addison, look to have things somewhat patched up after the poor stretch of the game to end that third quarter for the RedHawks over the final 5 minutes.
Oh, yeah, and they're controlling the clock early in this fourth quarter, and that was a great possession there. 28 seconds of shot clock used, and they end up at the free throw line with a free 2 opportunities to get a couple more points. And this is where Miami can really suffocate you with their ability to control the game defensively. They can shave so much clock on the offensive end because they're able to get so many stops on defense and force turnovers.
Lard hits both free throws. That makes it a 42-27 game with 7:36 to go in the fourth. It's a type of team where an offensive and defensive possession back-to-back usually take upwards of 40 seconds just because of how they play. Working to the left elbow, an open mid-range from Austin is a line driver off the front rim, and the rebound is picked up by Treader for the RedHawks. Cross for Lard. Down the left lane, Eastern was given that to her and stopped her short of the paint. She'll work it back outside. Lou Brown now from the right elbow extended. Makes her way up to the key, finds Treader, her triple. Air ball short, but Scott grabbed the rebound, but might have stepped on the baseline, it looks like, when she was trying to work her way back to the exterior. And so Miami will give it away. 3 minutes into the fourth quarter, it's 42-27, RedHawks over Eagles. Taken left to right by Olivia Smith for Eastern Michigan. And now this is Austin off a screen. Lou Brown with her the whole way to the left elbow. It's a handoff for Nelson. Slashing across, Nelson gives for Smith. She will step it back from the free throw line and can't hop up with the shot. Nelson now with a try from the right elbow, and she got fouled as Corey Lard was up in her business. And with 10 seconds left on the shot clock, the look from Eastern Michigan earns a trip to the free throw line. It's going to take some pace and quickness offensively down the stretch here for Eastern Michigan, Addison, that they haven't had in this game, as the first free throw is missed by Boston. Eagles just haven't been able to get the transition looks they've been looking for. Miami's really been hustling back, and that's been making it tough on the Eagles. Both free throws missed by Nelson, and now a tie-up on the rebound as Treader crumpled down to the floor, but the possession arrow is in favor with the RedHawks.
And you talk about how Miami's done a great job of getting back on defense, and you're correct about that. They have, and we see a lot of times with players at the free throw line, Miami likes to put their defenders back on the other end of the floor in order to prevent that, and they've struggled at times this season with effort and getting back on defense, and Coach Box has made some adjustments that have remedied some of those things, but a lot of the problems that they struggled with early on in the season and at points throughout the middle of this MAC conference slate was their effort at points when they would get down or they would get up at a certain point, just getting too emotional and starting to get complacent, and those things have really plagued Miami at certain points, and energy, just getting that to be a consistent thing is a huge element to being as good of a defensive team as Miami is, and they've showed that tonight with their effort level.
Both teams have given it away once now over the last couple of possessions. Miami has it back following a pass gone awry to the far side. 6:08 to go, fourth quarter, 42-27, the Miami lead. Treader from the right side, in for Richardson, open under the basket, catches the contact and scores through it.
That was a great job by Richardson to absorb that contact. You saw her kind of jump into the defender there and then use her left hand to get that shot to go.
First basket of the half for Richardson. Transition check the other way is knocked away from Austin, and the RedHawks back with it on the offensive end. 17-point lead for Miami, 44-27. Largest lead of the game was 19 at 35-16 at the media break halfway through the third. Mid-range jumper is through for Jada Scott, and that will make it a 19-point game once more, 46-27 with 5:25 to go in the fourth. Timeout, Keisha Blanton in Eastern Michigan. As things are getting dire for the Eagles, felt like something might be in the cards with the way they finished that third quarter, but Miami has really bounced back well in the first 4.5 of this fourth, and the RedHawks lead it by 19 here with 5:25 to go. Media timeout on the floor. We'll take a break here on Red Hawk Radio. You're listening to Miami Basketball. West, Poley, Addison, Lenhart back with you out of the Eastern Michigan timeout. Eagles trailing by 19, 46-27, with 5:16 to go in the fourth. And getting down low, Thompson rises up for the score from the left side. And so the play drawn up by Keisha Blanton works out on the Eastern Michigan bench. And the Eagles do get a bucket to at least stop the bleeding and get it back to 17. But this has been a strong fourth quarter start for Miami as we now cross the halfway mark. Under 5 to go in regulation. And what's been a pretty dominant Red Hawk performance from the start. Eastern Michigan gave Miami a little bit of trouble to end the third quarter, but it's been all Red Hawks for the most part. And the lead has not gotten inside 10 here since the Red Hawks stretched it out to 19 early in the second half. Foul called on the inside away from the ball as the Red Hawks were trying to get it into the paint to Scott. And so that will give Miami 20 more seconds to work with. Catch and shoot from the mid-range, and perfect from Katie Richardson. Timeout, Miami. He takes a 30-second timeout. Glenn Bach signaling for it on the Red Hawk bench. Katie Richardson up to 14 points now in the game. And, man, that's been a nice shot in the arm for this Red Hawk offense that we've already alluded to a couple of times. And what's not going to statistically look like the best offensive performance in the world, but certainly better than what Miami got on Wednesday.
And, yeah, I think that, Richardson has really stepped up, and she's been the most consistent offensive player today, which is not something you hear very often from Katie Richardson. But this team has struggled for the most part shooting the ball. Amber Treader now 3 for 13. She's 1 of 6 from 3. Corey Lard 2 for 9. Just, some ugly shooting numbers up and down the box score. But Katie Richardson has really, been that piece that has made the difference for Miami and allowed them to kind of stretch this into the game that they've been able to do.
So it's 48-29 Miami with 4:27 to go in the fourth coming out of the timeout. And a foul on the Red Hawks. Amber Treader gave a shot in the back to Treasure Thompson, who caught that pass in the paint. Sub will get rushed up here from the Eastern Michigan bench as Olivia Smith comes back on, the sophomore, who had started the last 7 MAC games for Eastern Michigan but came off the bench today. It's an Eagles team that's gone with a number of different looks this season in the starting 5, still trying to find what works under an interim head coach. Spinning into the lane, a wild shot overhead by Miles like a soccer throw-in, and she gets fouled. It rattled off the backboard, no good, but Miles has been a bright spot in getting to the free throw line for Eastern Michigan. This will now be her 4th trip, shooting attempts number 7 and 8 with 4:19 to go in the fourth. Red Hawks lead at 48-29. It's an Eastern Michigan team that's just had a nightmare season. Began 1-7. They elected to part ways with their longtime coach, Fred Castro. The first free throw is missed by Miles. It was in his 8th season after the 1-7 start. They didn't play a particularly challenging schedule either in non-conference as the second free throw is made. Included the likes of some new Division I teams like Lindenwood and Southern Indiana that are transitioning. Those are typically games you put on the schedule to win. And they suffered a couple of not only losses but blowouts, and things just really weren't clicking. So let go of their old head coach, and things have somewhat been stabilized by Keisha Blanton, but just trying to keep the wheels on right now for the rest of the season and see what happens coming up this spring and summer for the future of this group. 48-30 is the score with under 4 to play in the fourth quarter. 4 seconds left to shoot for Miami. Lard spinning, lost control on her dribble, and when she regathered, the shot clock hits 0. And so the RedHawks will turn it over.
And just too much standing around there offensively by Miami, but still you can tell on the offensive end they're content to use the clock with this 18-point lead in Eastern Michigan. How much they've struggled on the offensive end. Miami feels like they control this game right now.
It's Nelson shuffling in, push back outside. It's Treasure Thompson now. Former LSU Tiger puts it up and knocks it through from the mid-range. Thompson was on the roster last season but didn't appear for the Eagles. He's back playing a pretty big role this year. Veteran that's been in clearly a program that knows how to win in the LSU Tigers. 48-32 our score with 3:06 to go in the fourth quarter. Miami leads Eastern Michigan, and it's Tennessee Lou Brown controlling things at a snail's pace from up top. Jada Scott from the near wing with 4 to shoot. Has a bubble of space and will put it up from there. Can't get the shot to fall, had too much on it. And Eastern Michigan will grab the rebound. But priority right now for Miami just seems to be get near 30 seconds off the clock. Eastern Michigan with a quick 3 going the other way in the far corner from Boston. And that wedged in the corner of the rim and fell out. Miami has the rebound, and it's Lard in the front court continuing to wind time on this game. 48-32 RedHawks, 2:25 to go fourth quarter. Just a reminder coming up, Sean Wiesemann has the RedHawk Radio game break over on our men's stream, and then we are back for second game of the doubleheader between the Miami men and Central Michigan coming up at 3:30. Treader, an out-of-control drive, got tied up as she was falling down. A jump ball is called, and the possession arrow is in the Eagles' favor with 2:14 to go in the fourth, trailing by 16.
It was a great defensive play there from Miles. Treader, as you said, kind of out of control, dribbling towards the baseline, and Miles, with great hands, able to force that jump ball. And she's been a bright spot for this team. Eastern Michigan, the second leading scorer with 8 points. She's been to the free throw line a few times, has done nice work defensively down low.
Ball is lost on the floor on the offensive end by Nelson. There's more salt on the wound as the RedHawks pick it up. That's 28 turnovers on Eastern Michigan in the game. A team that was middle bottom in the MAC in terms of holding on to the basketball, but nowhere close to anything like this. This has just been a brutal, brutal game on the road for Eastern Michigan. They'll look to reset as they head back home next Wednesday. RedHawks get it down low, and Richardson can't finish. Gets the offensive rebound and gets tied up as she was surrounded by a forest of green jerseys. It'll stay with Miami with 90 seconds to go in the fourth quarter. And the RedHawks up by 16. This RedHawk team, meanwhile, has bounced back in a big way against Toledo, or I should say against Eastern Michigan after the loss against Toledo. And just with this Miami team needed, they'll be on the road next week for a couple of games. First against Central Michigan in Mount Pleasant on Wednesday. RedHawks have it back. It's Lou Brown up top. Now off for Treader. It's a Miami team, Addison, that get to this in a second as Glenn Box is going to call timeout. He's frustrated with Amber Treader. 7 seconds left on the shot clock, and she's holding it with her back turned out near half court. But Miami really feels like at this point in time, you can throw the rest of the season out. I mean, they're competitive right now to go to Cleveland. And through all the ugliness that has been this season for this Miami team, they've shown signs that they're starting to come together, and seen a few wins here down the stretch, and you don't know what could happen.
And this is a game that those teams at the top of the MAC are going to watch. And if they draw Miami in the beginning rounds of the MAC tournament, they are going to be displeased with the team that they're going to have to go up against. And Miami is just going to make you really uncomfortable on the offensive side of the ball. And if they're able to knock down shots and get contributions up and down the depth chart from different players, they have an opportunity to do some special things because of how good they are on defense and how they are able to force turnovers. And a 28 turnover game, if you're able to force that, that's an immaculate defensive performance. This has really been a really great defensive performance by Miami, which has kind of been overshadowed by the fact that Eastern Michigan has just been so poor. But Miami has really made it that way for this team. And if you're anybody contending in the MAC this year, that can be put to rest quickly if you're having an off night against the RedHawks.
Miami just ran out of time there on the offensive end. It's a shot clock violation on the RedHawks, who had a couple of out-of-bounds deflections with under 10 on the shot clock. Glenn Box said at his introductory press conference, paraphrasing a little bit here, but referring to having to rebuild a program as a shot falls down low for Tara Ake. It's 48-34 RedHawks, and now a giveaway out near half court. Slung to the far side. Poley gives it back up top with less than a minute to go. 3 taken from the near wing by Gentile, and an offensive rebound following the misfire, and now another, the putback with the foul for Dara Capaldi, so she'll go to the free throw line. But back a little bit to that Miami identity. I mean, Glenn Box said, like, in the first few years of this rebuild, who knows how many games are going to win, but he was a firm believer that even in games where this RedHawk team loses, they want to be one of the worst teams to play against in the MAC. They want to be a team that just makes you really, really, really uncomfortable, that you don't like playing, even if maybe the talent at the top of this conference is superior to what the RedHawks have right now. Free throw is made, by the way, to complete the and one. It's a timeout by Miami with 42.3 seconds to go as this game is down to 11 points now, 48-37. But yeah, Glenn Box just said, look, I mean, we're going to be the toughest team to play against in this league. And regardless of if you've got top-end talent, however many starred recruits you've got, we're going to be a team that you don't want to play. And that will start from the time that I get here, and it doesn't matter who we've got on the roster. That is going to continue, and hopefully as the team improves, that will add some winning to the equation as well, and this team will be on a really good track. But in terms of just being tough to play against and just being really, really stiff defensively, this team has really been like that over the last couple of months especially.
Yeah, and as you said, I mean, this team essentially plays basketball like a Big Ten football team, just not a team that you want to play against, and they're very uncomfortable, and they're going to make you very uncomfortable, and they're going to be physical with you and get into you and force you to do some things that you don't want to do. And whether or not the talent level is there for Miami, this is, as you said, Coach Box wants to be a squad that's just going to compete. And that's what he has with this group, and you can expect a culture of that type of attitude over the next few years for this Miami RedHawks women's basketball program.
Eastern Michigan looked like was attempting to foul Amber Treader. The official kind of stopped play right before Treader got the slap on the wrist for the foul, so don't know if that's actually what the call is. Might be an issue with the shot clock, it looks like, so there isn't a foul. Eastern Michigan was trying to get it out, but instead it'll just be an inbound for the RedHawks. Miami gets it into Corey Lard out near half court. Nearly trapped, but she gets out of it, and now Eastern Michigan will pull back. Shot and game clocks are separated by 11 seconds. Miami can't quite dribble this one out, but they can get awfully close. And with Eastern Michigan pulling this one back, Miami will rebound with a win on this Saturday afternoon from Oxford. RedHawks just hold it out as Treader gobbles it up and lets the final few seconds run off the shot clock. Miami's going to empty their bench here and get some players up late. It's 5 new subs for the RedHawks with the final 11.7 seconds. But Miami's going to beat Eastern Michigan here on this Saturday in a true nose to the grindstone Glenn Box type of game. This stat sheet is probably one that Glenn Box is really going to love. Miami struggled a little bit offensively, but on defense they forced 28 turnovers. Eastern Michigan shoots 1 for 12 from 3. A shot missed there from the right elbow, and time will run out on this game. How about a bounce back for the Miami RedHawks after just 36 points were put up on the road in a 50-piece loss against Toledo on Wednesday? The RedHawks steamrolled over Eastern Michigan, closed off the lead late, but this game was never in doubt. Miami goes wire to wire to win it 48-37. And Addison, again, we talked about the offensive struggles a little bit for Miami that they had in this game, but you really feel good anytime you can get an identity-affirming type of win, and that was really what this was for the RedHawks. It all started on the defensive end of the floor. They give up less than 40 points to Eastern Michigan here at home, and they come away with a deserved victory.
We talked about pregame how the result of the game up in Ypsilanti with Miami, they scored 48 points in that game, and I believe I said pregame that Miami was going to need to play better offensively if they were going to win this game, but instead they just ratcheted up defensively and forced 28 turnovers. And in that first half, they took care of the ball, and the first half is really where they did a lot of their work and stretched this thing out. In the second half, they kind of held on and just kept Eastern Michigan in a distance, but a complete defensive performance from this RedHawks squad, and they got the offensive contributions they needed in order to get the win.
So that will wrap it up here from Millett Hall in the first game of our doubleheader. Make sure to check out our men's stream starting in just a couple of minutes as Sean Wiesemann will get you started with RedHawk Radio Game Break, and then we will be back at around 3:30 Eastern Time in just about 40 minutes for the Miami men's team. Second game of the doubleheader, taking on the Chippewas of Central Michigan as Travis Steele's group looks to pick up a Saturday home win for the second straight week after a resounding victory in front of a huge crowd against Ball State last Saturday. Crowd looks to be close to equal in size to what we saw last week as Millett Hall is really filling up. Really excited to see how that one transpires. So for Addison, Lenhart, rest of our great Red Hawk Radio crew, I'm Luke West Poley saying so long for now from Millett Hall, where Miami beats Eastern Michigan 48-37. This has been a presentation of Miami women's basketball on Red Hawk Radio. Second game of the doubleheader is coming up next. All right, we're out.